But the weird thing, I've got to be honest with you, weird thing last night, right? I was given a presentation at 6 o'clock. It's happened twice now. And nobody can hear me. And we had to cancel last night because it seems that there must be an outage of people watching Zoom stuff and being involved in Zoom at 6 o'clock. It's worth knowing. So so they said, oh, what we'll do it on Friday at 6. And I'm thinking, would it be any better at 6 o'clock on Friday? Do you know what I mean?
Probably not.
I don't think it would. Because nobody goes out anymore, do they? Or yeah, I want to talk a little bit of a paranoid world that we live in, right? As I'm still setting up, last week we had all those storms, right? And then we had Franklin on Sunday. I'm sure it's called Franklin anyway. So we had Eunice hitting us on Friday, and it was like the government was saying, "Oh, don't go out anywhere, don't do anything." And somebody phoned me up and they said, "This is a government ploy to stop people going out." And I said, "Are you for real?" Right? No, honestly, straight up. They said this is what the government wants. They don't want people to go out. And I said, "Look, yeah, I've got to work tonight. I've got to do a ghost walk in Landswood Major," which I did. And I also said I've got a class that I've got to do in Barry live because I've got to get to my studio because we do a live class in Barry. And then they said, "Oh, you should be going out." And I said, "Hang on a minute. You've just turned around and said to me that it's a government plot." Anyway, I actually thought this person was off their head, right? So I did the walk on Friday night and everyone was okay. There were like 6 people didn't turn up because they thought about the wind, and I had six other people there, and it worked really well. It was a nice, pleasant evening. There was nobody around in Landswood Major. It was really nice. And then the next day, right, I had a message off somebody saying, "Did you do the walk on Friday night? Because I think it's something to do with it. The government is trying to stop us going out." And I just thought, what? And then somebody else contacted me again and said, "Oh, obviously these storms have been over exaggerated in the media because they want to stop people going out, right?" So I'm going to ask the sensible one amongst you guys, me. No, I'm going to ask you, Goff. What do you think about all that? Was it over exaggerated on Friday, Goff? And Sunday
I thought, professionally speaking, being in a few storms myself, I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it was. It was bad, but it wasn't bad as they said it was. In fact, the next day I thought it was worse than the
Sunday. Yeah.
But the person to ask lives in Wick because it was so windy there.
Actually, what I am going to ask, I'm going to go ask Henry. Henry, what was the weather like on with you then?
The first storm was pretty bad, but it all came in one direction, which was survivable. So we suffered very little damage. I think I've got one end cap on a tile that's half hanging off, but the rest of it, fine. I agree with Goff. The Sunday one was actually worse.
Yeah, it was really bad. And the other thing I will say is that our wind turbine actually came off its mounting bracket. The whole turbine, and the weird thing was we had a net underneath. This is not a small turbine. This is like middle of the range thing, right? And the weird thing is it just came off and it just went. I managed, and the thing is, right, it was fine. I've managed to put it back up, which is actually great. But it's just I couldn't believe that Sunday was actually far worse. Sunday was worse. You know, it was.
It's Michael Fish cocked up his weather forecast years ago. And said there was no chance of a hurricane. You know, half the country was blown away. They're so ultra cautious now, yeah. And that's the world we live in.
It is.
I mean, right, I don't need anyone to tell me not to go out if it's too windy. it's you just, if you don't feel right, you don't go, do you? You know, it's simple.
Oh
as
no,
that.
exactly. This is a thing. You know, actually, I phoned my mum. I said, "Oh, look, I'm coming to Barry on Friday, because I've got, you know, I got this walk. Well, I got the two things." And she said, "You can't do the walk in the evening." And I said, "Hang on a minute. What were you saying?" Oh, she said, "Oh, don't do the walk in the evening. You're risking people's lives, right?" This is how bad it was, right? She said, "You're risking people's lives by doing the walk in the evening. It's really irresponsible." And then one of the people on the walk said, "Oh, it's really irresponsible that you're saying go ahead with the walk." And I went ahead, and it was a perfectly nice evening.
They didn't have to go, did they?
No, they didn't have to go at all. They didn't.
Oh, it's simple as that, isn't it?
It is as simple as that.
Yeah.
So we got some brilliant.
No.
Go on. Exactly. Well, just don't go. Exactly. Mind you, we did say to everyone, if you don't turn up, you're not going to get a refund either. But that's not the point. But
That's another debate, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's another debate. But the fact of the matter is, you're trying to run a business, and my mum said, it was 160 quid, £160 that we took on Friday night. And I said, if I'd cancelled it or postponed it, we'd have had to given all the money back, right? So that would have been 160 quid down. So, you know, you got to make those choices. And that's the point.
I'd be demanding my money back.
Yeah, but that's you. You would demand your money back even if you went.
I want my money back from Christmas lunch. I didn't get my deposit back. Yeah. And I want it back. And I hold you responsible.
1 minute. No. That was not me. That was Karen. Get it off her. And I tell you what, she'll flatten you, she would.
You're right.
Hey, stop. Do you know what? We're never going to get this going today. Right. Okay. Any other news? Any other news off wonderful Henry and Goff? And we're going to do these three articles now.
No
more from me.
The mosaic sounds interesting, but there we are.
We'll build up to the mosaic, right? It is. It was just like orgasmic. Right. Okay. Right. It was orgasmic. Right. So basically, we've got this one here. Now this is what I thought you meant. Rare 5,000-year-old crystal dagger is uncovered in a prehistoric Iberian megalithic tomb, Spanish tomb. And look at that. That is unbelievable. Now, I've never seen this before. You know, the rest of the dagger, you know, that's really nice. You know, we love it, decorated. But that there, you know, I'm gonna take a punt, right? That doesn't look like flint to me. It's definitely not chert. It's definitely not obsidian. Is it chalcedony? I've not read this article. Chalcedony is like a very softy type flint, right? We're going to see if it is. So does it tell us what it's made of? Ancient tools that once belonged to prehistoric civilizations have been found all over the world, but a discovery in Spain is unlike those traditionally made of stone or flint. So hang on a minute. Oh, there you go. The answer is it's rock crystal. A team excavating the megalithic tomb of Monterlero Tholos in 2007 through to 2010 uncovered a dagger form from rock crystal. Why haven't I never heard of it until now? Most technically sophisticated ever to be uncovered in prehistoric Iberia, Spain, and would have taken enormous skill to carve. No doubt that. The artifact, which is about 5,000 years old, why are we hearing about it now? Is nearly, we'll just round that up, 9 inches long, and was found along with 10 arrowheads, 4 blades, and a core for making weapons, all of which were rock crystal. Now, the question is, could you damage somebody with that? Maybe you could, I don't know. But the work on that's unbelievable. The weapon's final resting place is far from the crystal mines. Somebody has obviously got grammatical problems like I do, which suggests they once belonged to an elite individual who paid a hefty price to have the materials sourced and shaped. Researchers also speculate that rock crystal during this time may have had a symbolic significance, and such societies used it for vitality, magical powers, and connection with the ancestors. So, do you know what? You know what I'm going to actually do, right? Whenever they find something like this, it's always got to do with symbolic significance, and it's always got to do with ancestors and magical powers and ritual and ceremony, right? Henry, can you suggest another reason other than those? Now think about it. We'll keep reading. They probably represent funerary paraphernalia only accessible to the elite. Now the question is, I'm going to question this as well. Did it belong to somebody who was of the elite of this period? The association of the dagger blade to a handle made of ivory, also a non-local raw material that must have been of great value, strongly suggests the high-ranking status of the people making use of such objects. There's something going on in my head at this minute, which we will go on to, right? The excavation is southwest Spain. There you go. The team worked on the site and published their findings in 2015. And it's only coming to us now again. I don't understand why it's only coming to us now. A trove of crystal weapons. The tomb, and there we go. And oh, there we go. Although rock crystals were found throughout the site, the most sophisticated items, arrowheads and dagger blade, were uncovered in the southern sector. So there we go. That's the tomb. So we've got this. Is that some kind of a tomb? Oh, yeah, we go. Yeah, it is. I've not read any of this. So 143 corridor, 143 foot long structure. So there we go. It goes in. So it goes all the way to the end there. And then it goes into a chamber that's 15 feet in diameter. This is actually a class in itself. I'm spoiling it, really. Yeah. Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to stop now, right? Because I've uncovered a subject that we're going to do in the future, right? We're going to do this in the future, right? Now, I've asked you a question, Henry, right? And we as I say, we've got to do this one. I can't not do this in a few months' time. I've got to do this as a class, and we've got to. But I want to examine loads of these rock crystal artifacts are being found, right? And two things I'm thinking straight away. I'm thinking, right, there's loads of them, right? So they can't have been that rare, right? And the other thing as well as I'm thinking, when people find anything in archaeology, they always say something like, oh, this is the first one we've ever found, therefore it's massively rare, right? But when you think about it, there's so little evidence from these parts of history. And so say, for example, here's a good one, right? At this minute on a Wednesday evening, I'm looking at the idea of the line and causeway enclosures and cursus monuments and so on, completely different. And I'm doing it from an alternate view, right? And I'm asking odd questions about what do these things mean if they're not to do with the elite and so on. If you remove all those usual things that archaeologists say, what do they actually mean, right? And sometimes I'm thinking we overdo this thing that they obviously belong to rich people. They belong to the elite because it's the first time they've ever been found, right? That's the thing we always say. If in 10 years' time they find in that area every single tomb has these rock crystal daggers, right? That means that they don't just belong to the elite; they belong to everybody else. Now I've chucked that at you, right? We've gone off on a complete tangent, and I love going off on tangents like this. Henry, what do you think? Give me another view. Give me another idea what you think.
Well, what's rattling around is it some sort of religious?
No, items? You're not allowed to use religious. Because you've just done it. You've just said it. I'm sorry I've cut you dead there, right? I know I've cut you dead. I shouldn't be doing this, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that religion is always the thing that they connect these things with. Hang on a minute, Al, stop a minute. Am I going nuts, or does that look like they're replicating a jawbone there? That's not teeth, but doesn't that look like a jawbone?
It looks suspiciously like it.
Yeah, but it's carved out of ivory to look like it. Right, sorry. Okay. just, I put you on the spot, Henry. Just chuck something at me. First thing in your head, other than religion, ritual, elite, ceremony. Give me another idea.
Money is the other thing.
Right, go a bit further.
Valuable exchange items.
Now that is something that is a valuable way of looking at things, because one thing that we always say in the past, and I'm sorry to disconnect you from this golf coat totally, but one thing in the past is that we don't ever talk about money, right? We always dismiss the idea of money completely. So in other words, what we're saying is that before Julius Caesar came to Britain and before they started trading coins to Britain, right, which was about 60, 70 years BC, there was no monetary system, right? There was no monetary system at all, right? However, if you go to certain parts of Africa, right, there's certain communities that might trade in very rare teeth from very, very, very rare animals, right? And there's other communities that might trade in little bits of copper bars and there's other communities in the world that might trade in little copper bangles and so on. It's not, and when you think about it, you think, well, you think, well, why can't they have had a monetary system in the past? It seems absolute nuts that you know, for example, I'm going down the road, right, and there's a village and somebody's got a dagger like this, right, and you want one, right? So how do you achieve having this dagger without killing the person? The option of killing them is not there. You can't kill them, right? We're playing a game now when you can't kill them. So how do you obtain this object? The only way to obtain this object is to trade something. And I think what you've just said there is a revolutionary idea. The idea that we've got some kind of barter monetary system, and that's completely missed in the text. Right. I really like that one. What we're going to do now, we're going to come back to this in the future, right? We've got all that, and you've got months and months, Goff and Henry, to think about some other. But look at that detail there. Do you know, I've got to get so many images on this. I am fascinated by this. Look at the way that surface is there. We've got to do this again, right? So, okay, we'll knock that one off now. Right, we know that that's there. Now, this is one that really tickled your fancy, wasn't it, Henry? Yeah. Again, Golf was just listening to this thinking, what about me? But, okay, so...
go on.
Yeah, go for it. On a 5,300-year-old skull, archaeologists find evidence of the first known ear surgery. Now, trepanning. Is this trepanning or is this another technique? Let's see if it's another technique, because I haven't actually read this. I don't know anything about this.
I think this is another technique.
Another technique. Well done. Brilliant. We love it. Humans may have begun performing ear surgery more than 5,000 years ago. Again, this is the same time as that object that we've just looked at. And do you know what I'm going to say? There might be a link. There's no link at all, but there might be a link. And because we're told that flint is actually still used in eye surgery today, right? Flint is actually still used in eye surgery today because it's one of the sharpest naturally known substances to man. So, you know, why couldn't they have used rock crystal back in the past? You know, I love that sort of idea that, you know, that there's loads of different ways of looking at these things.
On this one, they found flint's woodits that have been heated up to actually make them sharper.
Oh my God! Do you know what? That is so good, isn't it? You know, that modern technology, and you've just mentioned it. I that is really, really sexy. I just think that is so great. And you've just mentioned it. I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent. And I'm just looking. I've got the other computer up in front of me now, and I'm just desperately trying to bring everything together here. Spanish researchers say the skull they found in a Spanish tomb, another tomb. This is a tomb as well. Did you notice the other one was a tomb as well? With several cut marks found near the left ear canal. Is an indication that a person with anatomical knowledge performed the primitive surgical procedure to relieve possible ear pain. I think that is absolutely amazing. These hang on, these evidences, not come across that, point to a mastoidectomy, nice. A surgical procedure possibly performed to relieve the pain this prehistoric individual may have suffered as a result of otitis media and mastoiditis. I don't know any of this. It's another field. Do you know anything about this, Goff? Any mastoiditis? Is that ear pain? It must be. I don't know. It's gone beyond me. The skull, which according to the study belonged to an elderly lady, was discovered with other human remains of over 100 persons in a massive single chamber, multi-phase tomb dating from the late Neolithic era, known as the Dolmen at Burgos in Spain. Now, this was in 2018. We're only learning about it now, but it is 100 bodies. And can I just chuck something in there, right? I want to chuck in, we've got 100 bodies, right there, 100 persons, right? If they hadn't looked at every single one, they wouldn't have found evidence of this person having this surgery. And that's a fact, because when the problem is in archaeology, what we do, we take samples, don't we? We basically say, look, we found 100 bodies and we look at 5 of them and we work out something that tells us about the rest of the bodies. Now, if they'd have done this in this case, they would have missed the evidence. I love it when they go to this degree. There it is. And I'm looking at something that's beyond me. And it's just like set of cut marks. There we go. Identified on the left temporal bone of the skull, side view of the left side of the skull, detail of the left toe. So hang on. It's telling us about this, but we can't. And then we go down. It says more of the evidence. Oh, and you can just see the marks there. It's frustrating, this article, because it's not, you can just see the marks on the right one, can't you, where they've cut into it? But unfortunately, I hate that. When we got images and you can't see the detail, but we've obviously got an idea of the surgical procedure there. As we zoom in there, we can see that. That's great. I love it. I love what's going on there. And what else does it say? The skull showed evidence of 2 perforations on both sides of the skull. Near its mastoid bone, which indicates that the surgery attempted to relieve growing pressure in the ear canal. So both 2 performers on both sides of the skull. So you had earache on both sides of the skull. Do you know what we're going to
drilled a hole?
We're gonna work out. I know obviously the rest of my chips with the body, but the mastoid bone. Let's have a look at this. Where is the mastoid bone? Here we go, mastoid bone. Oh, there we go. The mastoid bone, there it is. It's showing it nicely there. So the mastoid bone itself is it showing? So there's all that stuff. So basically, it's the stuff that makes the mandible work, isn't it? Which has a link with the skull, the lower mandible. So that's going to be really painful. We have gone off on a tangent today, but hey, boys, it's all good stuff. So I just saw that they were talking about mastoiditis, weren't they? Mastoiditis. There we go. So we've got signs and symptoms there. So in other words, that's mastoiditis, right? So basically there's an abscess that looks really painful. And you know what? That's why the person had the surgery. No wonder that person had the surgery. So again, if we go back to that, so here we go. It is unknown if the procedures were carried out at the same time. So we got procedures on the opposite side to relieve pain. It must have spread, or during separate occasions. They said, but specific bone growth around the area indicates that the woman survived both procedures, which is great. Again, what we're talking about here, we're talking about tools being used. And you were talking about in the rest of the article that that obviously they knew about infection, because they yeah, I haven't got that far. But this is the first evidence of early surgical ear intervention. This is all prehistoric stuff. This is really relevant. There it is. This is what you just said. Flint blade with traces of having cut bone and having been reheated several times at between 300 to 350 degrees leads them to propose that it was used as a cauterization surgical instrument for the procedure. So in other words, they were aware of infection because they wouldn't have heated it up, would they?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Why do you need to heat it up? Well, they were aware of it. So it's talking about an expert from a local hospital in Spain. They're saying that the procedure would have been very similar to surgical interventions that are still performed today to eliminate middle ear infection. He said, love it. Love that. We love that one. And do you know what? Guys, let's use the word. I'm going to have an absolute orgasm now because the next one is that. Look at that. That is wow. And we're not talking about the archaeologists working on it. Look at that. This is unbelievable. I tell you what, I was for. Do you know what? This is the type of thing that people would pay money to go and see at that location, right? And if I was the developer and I owned that site, right? Yeah, you know, you can talk about archaeology is money. And I tell you what, if I was a developer, I would say we could make money out of this. We could get people there and see it, and it's working. It does work in locations. It really does. I tell you what, you could have a building. You could have a building. I don't know what. We'll read what this means, right? But this is so wow. You see my interest. Stunning. Hang on a minute. What the hell's going on out there? Hang on. There's a load of cockerels fighting. Anyway, stunning Roman mosaic is discovered near the Shard, featuring colourful flowers and geometric patterns, and is the largest of its kind found in London for more than 50 years. And I tell you what, that is wow. Hang on, they're showing where we got. So we're there. So I'm a bit lost here. So we've got the Shard there, which is there, the South Bank, isn't it? And we've got there you go. They're working at Southwark. Yeah, you've got to call it Southwark Avenue, South Bank. And there it is in association. And interesting enough, you've got the old city, the Roman Londinium. You go over the bridge and it's on the opposite side, which is absolute fab. Lush. Love it. And again, looking at that, discovered a stone's throw from the Shard, experts have determined this to be the largest area of Roman mosaic found. Do you know what? For me, this is the bee's knees of finding stuff. Look at the way that is. It's level. It's you know, you've got a good context of archaeology, and it's so well preserved. And the other thing as well is what we saw with that with a mosaic found up north very recently. Hang on. Where was it? Leicestershire, wasn't it? Oh God, that mosaic found up north. It was a really great one, right? The biggest one ever found in Britain, but it was damaged by fire damage. This isn't damaged by fire damage. It's absolute wow. And look at that there. And actually, do you know what we're doing? We've gone on to the other side and they're finding more. Look at that. You've got two sections. And this is a bit bulbous and moved. And wow, I could give a whole lecture on this one. You got to, God, this is yeah, I've not seen this one. This is and there you go. So what you've got this is before they've uncovered the other one. This is before they've uncovered the other one. And you've obviously got a wall on the right there of another structure. And yeah, I just want to read. There's 16 images. This is a lecture in itself. Let's just do the article because we won't get on with what we're meant to be doing today. A stunning Roman mosaic featuring colourful flowers and geometric patterns. The mosaic, which is there, we go. We got that, but within a dining room. And this is the thing as well. This is the other thing. Whenever people look at Roman sites, they always say this has got to be to do with the dining room, right? It's got to be. And you're thinking, well, why can't it have just been somebody who had a lot of money and we are talking about somebody having a lot of money on this one, why can't we talk about somebody having a lot of money and appreciating it? You know, just as somebody would have a Persian rug. Do you know what, right? The one thing you don't do with a Persian rug is put furniture on it. You keep it, you know, you've spent, was it, the average price of a Persian rug is about 25, 30 grand now. So you've got this Persian rug in a room and you want people to see it. So the dining room might have been part of a Roman mansio, an upmarket motel, offering accommodation, stabling and dining facilities for state courtiers and officials traveling to and from London. It was likely located on the outskirts of Roman Londinium, as we already have seen, an area centered on the north bank of the Thames and roughly corresponding to the modern city of London. And they're excavating it once in a lifetime. This is a once in a lifetime. Look at that. Scroll down for a 3D model. Oh my God, we've got a 3D model. Where is this? Loving it. It's loving it. I'm just, this is so great. And where's this 3D model? I want to see this 3D model. Where is it? Again, I'm just scrolling through this because there's just so many images. Has anyone seen this 3D model? You've got to go through it all. Hang on a minute. This is so huge. Again, I could do a whole presentation on this. 3D model. Where is it? God, it's telling us about a 3D model. Do you know what? Again, I could do a whole lecture on this one. This is brilliant. And they're talking about this being in a dining room and it's beautiful and it's covered up. I don't go with that. It's something to be seen. It's something to be proud of. There's no 3D model, unfortunately. I can't see a 3D model, can you? Actually, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to type in, see if we can get this 3D model. It'd be exciting to see that. 3D model, Roman mosaic, London. Did you hear the fighter planes in the background earlier on, a few moments ago?
No.
Oh, right. I do believe that there is a 3D model. There's a 3D model. Do you know what? That's a bit disappointing, to be honest with you. And the reason why that's disappointing is it is disappointing because it just like you've got it's like it's like
really.
I can't see.
You see that?
It's not very good, is it?
It's not very good. Do you know what I'm thinking? Right? Oh, there we go. There, and now that's more like it.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
The other one was a bit naff, and the reason why it was a bit naff, it was just like it was a bit like putting a Persian rug in a council house in Barry. It's just not going to go, is it? My parents have got a Persian rug, but unfortunately, it's the moths have got to it. And so yeah, this is great stuff. So what we got to do now, we've actually got to get onto the lecture we're meant to be doing today, Creswell Crags, and we just got to. There's nothing wrong with just doing something else for a change and just getting into it. So let's just go and look at these images. Oh, flipping heck, I got too excited there, didn't I? You can tell I got too excited. So where we're going to go, we're going to go, right. We're not going to, I decided next week, we're on to Creswell Crags now. I've decided next week that we're not going to be doing the Gower Caves because we're going to be doing the prehistory of islands in the Bristol Channel, right? Because I've got to do more research on Dogger's Cave on the Gower and Deborah's Hole on the Gower. That's what they're called. They're called Dogger's Cave and Deborah's Hole on the Gower. And these are caves on the Gower that I've got to deeply research. So we're going to be doing that in a few weeks' time. So today we're going to be doing Creswell Crags. Now you can spell Creswell Crags with 2 G's or 1 G. And I used to think it was Creswell Crags, but it's Creswell Crags. It's on the border between Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, right? And it's a landscape of very, very rich archaeology. And what we're going to do, hang on, stop it. Right. Why is it not do-daring? Hang on a minute, go. Right, hang on, share. We go with that, right. Good, that's better. There's a little story associated with this. It was when they were setting up the museum associated with Creswell Crags back in 1984. There was an archaeologist called Rogan Johnson who was trying to get everything sorted, and he made some of the discoveries, and he didn't have the credit for his discoveries. He moved over to Spain, and it was and this Rogan tried to stop. It was at the time of the miner strike near the Derby mines, and basically the police tried to use this area to sort of put their police vans and everything. And Rogan said, "No, I'm not having this." And he made himself so unpopular he lost his job. So archaeologists standing up to the police just doesn't work. I thought I'd chuck that in there. But now we've got this wonderful archaeological landscape, and we've got the archaeology of Robin Hood Cave there. We've got the archaeology of Churchill Cave, Pinhole Cave. Pinhole Cave, a wonderful artifact was found, and we've got evidence. One other wonderful evidence at Robin Hood's Cave and Churchill Cave as well. So that's what we're going to go on to. So it would be nice to have a little look at what this cave landscape looked like. And there it is. So what we've got this little stream in there. We've got a roadway in there. There's a museum associated with it, and there's a little bit of a lake on the end. And I've looked at lots of reconstructions of this landscape, and I've never really ever been happy with it. And one thing that I would say is that there's been a lot of erosion within this sort of Carboniferous limestone landscape, meaning that the caves that we see today are only the backs of the caves rather than the fronts of the caves. So the evidence that we find is actually the backs of the caves. And anything that was any people living in the mouths of the caves, with hearths and so on, all that's been eroded away, because the evidence within this landscape dates back at least 60,000 years ago. And we're talking about the period of Neanderthal evidence within that landscape as well. The great evidence going back 40,000 years, and some of the earliest cave art in Britain, the most northerly cave art in Britain, being found as well in 2003. So if we look at this is sort of the entrance into some of the more famous of the caves there. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at what I've got on the screen with Creswell Crags. Strangely enough, we'll have to have a break soon. Oh God. So Creswell Crags in a limestone gorge between Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, and it's named after the little village of Creswell. Cliffs, and in between with these cliffs on either side, you've got these little ravines, and within these little ravines, some of the little ravines you can actually see in front of you are the caves. And these caves themselves have got substantial archaeological evidence going back 43,000 years, and all the way back 60,000 years as well. And in fact, what the evidence tells us is people have lived within and around this landscape well beyond 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, 9,000 years ago, and even in the Roman period. And actually, stuff has been going on here as late as the late medieval period. So lots of archaeological evidence has been going on. Strangely enough, there's stuff still being found. It was only very, very recently that that a tour guide working for Creswell Crags Museum was taking a group of people into the caves, and a woman looked up and said, "What are those things on the ceiling?" And they said, "Oh, we haven't seen them before. Witch marks." There we go. Witch marks have been found, and it's great. Doesn't that look absolutely wonderful? But it was been very different in the past, because when we're talking about the height of occupation within the caves, about 43,000 years ago, maybe, and then you've got another height of occupation about 12,000 years ago before the melting of the ice. The landscape would have been very different, or would it have been? because one thing that I felt was very, very odd. If we sort of hang on, I think we might have a bit of one reconstruction. Some of those reconstructions I don't approve of. Hang on a minute. Hang on, let's just type in which I wasn't going to do today. I was going to avoid this, but there's a point I need to make and get lots of images of what these may have looked like. Creswell Crags reconstruction. Not type this in. I had these ready on. Well, there we go. I think that's absolute nonsense. And the reason why I'm saying that's absolute nonsense is what they're showing the landscape as being, as it is now, really. And whoever did this as a reconstruction has completely lost the idea that you've got erosion. And there's an interesting area that I'd like to make as a point, another one of those issues, that what we're talking about is that people living within this landscape over 60,000 years ago, but the most stuff around 43,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, and what have you, as I take a break, is that archaeologists don't think about microclimates. And what I'm saying is that when it was very, very cold 20,000 years ago, it doesn't mean to say that this contained a glacier, or this was really cold, because you do have microclimates. For example, I'll give you two nice examples of microclimates. There's a place in Powys, mid Wales, that because it's north facing, they always get very, very cold temperatures in the winter months, 8, 9, 12, 13 minus degrees C, right? And people, we don't get those temperatures anywhere else in most of Britain. We might get -2 or -3 and -5 at max, but not -10, right? That's a microclimate, right? But there are places in Britain, parts of Cornwall, that you can actually go to, and you can get tropical plants that will not grow anywhere else in Britain other than in these little alleyways and ravines and whatever in Cornwall. And you're thinking, well, that's not possible, but it is possible, right? If you can get microclimates today, you can get microclimates in the past. I'm going to say a load of bunkum now, right? But these writers know their salts. There was it wasn't Jules Verne's Journey to the Centre of the Earth. I think it was Jules Verne as well, that there was an expedition in one of his films, and they went to, I think it was the Antarctic, and suddenly a little bit of the Antarctic, and there was like a green field, and there was like a microclimate, and within the icy surrounds, and Vikings lived there and all these other things. And you think, oh, what an absolute load of nonsense, but it's not. But you do get these microclimates in the world. And for example, you can go to, there's a guy that I follow on the internet, and called, I can't remember his name, but I follow him on the internet. And he goes to parts of Africa, Zimbabwe, because he was born in Zimbabwe. And he was born in Tanzania, same difference. Sorry, it's not. But anyway, he goes to Zimbabwe, visits his friends. He's from Tanzania, and he can speak Swahili and all the dialects. He's great, and he does his videos in Swahili. And he goes to these places, and he's like, say, there's snow on the top of a mountain, and you look down, and it's like barren, and you've got microclimates, and you've got lush areas in Africa, and then you go within the rest of the landscape, and it's barren. Microclimates. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent, but what I'm trying to say is that we can't always think of these landscapes as being, what the hell? We can't, I don't know where that's come from. We can't always think of these landscapes as being this, right? And one thing I would say is that if we do think about the period that we're talking about over 12,000 years ago is known within the geological essence as the Pleistocene period, which ended 12,000 years ago, which is geological glacial period. And the period that we're in today is the Holocene period, which is the interglacial. So we're heading for a glacial period soon because we've still got ice on the ice caps. But the point is that those are the geological periods. Our Paleolithic period ended about 12,000 years ago, and then we go into the Mesolithic period. But people are still living within this landscape. And just before the ending, this is the thing, this is the point I'm trying to get at, and maybe I should spit it out a bit more, right? The point I'm trying to get at is that archaeologists think, oh, why did people live in these really freezing cold conditions? How are they still living here? And they're living here because there's microclimates. And there's more and more evidence to say that there was microclimates. I've done these lectures for many, many years. And over the past few months, well, not past few months, over the past few weeks, I would say, we've been looking at the cave evidence, and we've been thinking, right, they've been finding hippopotamus bones, and they've been finding elephant bones, and they've been finding hyena bones. And you're thinking, well, they're animals that would live within warm climates. So therefore, that immediately says that that this was in a warm period within the last glacial period, right? And you're thinking, well, maybe that's not the case, because you can have warm environments in Britain within freezing cold environments. And that's a very good that's a very good point to make. And you know what? That is a very good point to make. I've not thought of it that way. So if we're basing the archaeological evidence on voles, which indicates it's a warm climate, then in fact you might have warm climates within cold climates. Do you see the point I'm trying to make? Tangent. So what we've got, if we go back to some of my images sensibly, and we go back to what this is today. So within these caves, there are various layers of occupational evidence. The Paleolithic period going way back, going into the Mesolithic period, and throughout. And as these things develop. Now, it might surprise you when we look at Deborah's Hole on the Gower, you'll find evidence of medieval evidence within some of these caves, like Tuthold Cave on the Gower and so on. And when we look at this, we think, well, why are people using these caves in the medieval period? People didn't use these caves in the medieval period. Of course, they used these caves in the medieval period. Just because you've got people brandishing clubs in the Paleolithic period, not. It's obviously that nobody in the medieval period could live within this landscape, which they clearly did, because we find the evidence. End of evidence is the gravitas for archaeology. And it's something that cannot be ignored. Within these landscapes, we find evidence, and they're talking about one of the caves is stuffed with archaeology. Hyena Cave is known as Hyena Cave because it's got lots of hyena evidence in it, which does make sense. So what we've got the what we do have is this being a World Heritage Site. Being a site of special scientific interest, and why not? It's the place to be. And you know what we're going to do? When I did this on Tuesday, I thought, right, there's so much to do, right? And there's so much to do, and I just thought, right, do I do all these? Do I do all of Churchill Cave, or do I do Pinhole Cave? And Hyena Cave, isn't it marked on there? I don't know why. So Creswell Crags itself is the idea of the crags, the idea of the meaning of this landscape actually comes from the Anglo-Saxon. So it's a landscape that has been well used for many generations. Every generation blames the one before we do, because it's all there. So what we find is that if we look at this, we look at this map, right, over in Mother Grundy's parlour. Right, there we go, Mother Grundy's parlour. A little bit of a cave. Remember that this would have been a lot bigger cave network back in the time, but all due to erosion, we've lost it. But there is one interesting thing. If you excavate the areas where the caves have collapsed further out, and you look at all that, maybe you can actually find under all that crap, you can actually find some evidence of hearths and so on and so on. So there you go. So Mother Grundy's parlour, which has produced numerous flint tools and split bones, and was occupied until Mesolithic times. Interesting, but lots of the other caves were lived in up until more recent times. So we go down to Robin Hood's cave. It's called Robin Hood Cave because Robin Hood and the merry men held out in there. maybe not. So here we go, Robin Hood's cave. Numerous finds have been found in there, right? Including the horse's head carved onto a bone. And evidence of woolly rhinoceros and Arctic hare have actually been found associated with Robin Hood Cave. There's so much archaeology. You know, I could give a talk looking at just Mother Grundy's cave, or we could do Churchill Cave. But on the Gower, I've got to nail it when we look at Deborah's Hole, and I've got to make sure I'm more consistent than I am today. So when we look at Pinhole, the location of Pinhole Cave is where we've got the figure of an engraved man on a bone with a great big member. In fact, he's got 2 penises. So we need to look at the carving on a bone at Pinhole Cave, which was found in the 1920s. And we've also got to look at Churchill Cave, where there are 80 engravings found on its walls, intermittently, probably until Roman times. So we've got to look at that. So we've got 3 things I've just picked out today, picked out of these holes. So the finds themselves, the most intriguing is the bone, which is basically a tiny little rib bone, which we've probably established as is 3 inches long. This bone, it carved on it is a horse's head, and I think we went as far as working out that it may have actually been a horse rib, but anyway, it's a horse's head, and there's an intriguing story associated with the ochre horse of Creswell Cregs, found in Robin Hood Cave. And this was found on the 29th of June, 1876. And there's a massive enigma associated with this. And there was a parallel with Haviland Cave. We made that parallel, which was one of the things which we've got to go into. And the ochre horse is estimated to be between 11 and 13,000 years old. Now, I'm sorry about the innuendo today. I couldn't avoid it. It's just that, yeah. Anyway, I got one woman who was very excited in one of my classes. I said, look, we're going to look at Deborah's Hole. And the strange thing is she was called Deborah. So this is why I've got to try and make sure my Gower stuff is more honed in, because I'm just going to get into hysterics otherwise. So anyway, Robin Hood Cave horse. Robin Hood. It's the original horse that Robin Hood rode on. Why not? You can't make it up, can you? There it is. There's the bone, and there it is. And you know what? We went off and we thought, hang on, there we go. Can we just zoom in on this one? Okay, this is actually on the oh wow! I didn't do this on. Oh wow! I didn't do this on Tuesday. This is the opposite. This is the other side of the bone. Right? Yeah, this is the other side of the bone. I mentioned this, and what there's loads of marks on the other side of the bone, which nobody has really explained or gone into. So do you know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to look at the other side of the bone, and then we're going to look at the bit with the bone with the horse on it. Right. So interesting enough, the ochre horse itself does have a horse's head on the other side. I wanted to look at this side anyway. It was discovered in 1876, and we've got a precise date. You know, we've got a precise date in 1876, and it was found on the 29th of June, 1876, at 4:15. Right. And it ended up in the British Museum, naturally, as these things do. And the one thing is, it's a very, very important find. It's this is the reverse side, and we'll look at the obverse in a minute. 3 inches long, a major find, and it was found associated with work that was being undertaken within the cave in the 1870s. But there's some controversy with it. Naturally, we can't do these without controversy, can we? You know, it's like running around a field naked and nobody taking a photograph of me. It's got to be done. So there we go. hang on a minute. I don't want Wikipedia on you. Oh, for fiddlestick's sake. Hang on. Actually, the Wikipedia images are quite good. Come on, Wiki. Come on. Stop doing it. Bam. Right, there we go. So this is basically what we've got. We've got this bone here, and then we're going to try and translate it to this. So so what we've got, hang on, where's that one I just had there? That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it, boys? Here we go. Oh, I don't want that. Oh, God. Oh, I tell you what, somebody's got to be winding me up today. Hang on a minute. Oh, I don't want those silly little pony things. Right, okay, where is it? Hang on, where is it? Oh, there it is. Right, there he is. Don't he look lovely? Don't he look? Apparently, we had a horse expert in to the class on Tuesday, and he got really excited with this. He got so excited, he did. Early excavations of Robin Hood Cave by a Professor Sir William Boyd Dawkins. Now, he wrote lots of papers on his finds. It's great. Unfortunately, as with most things, this wasn't found by the archaeologist working in the cave, Dawkins. It was found by a certain Reverend Julia Monkton Milo, Reverend J.M. Milo. And he discovered it. He discovered this in the Western Chamber, towards the back of the Western Chamber at Creswell Crags within Robin Hood Cave. Now, great, he found it. You can imagine he's going, wow, I found this thing. And the Dawkins is saying, you numpty, I wanted to find it and I wanted to put it in context, right? But we're not going to say anything yet, right? We're not saying anything yet. So the way Dawkins described this, and if we zoom out of this, the way Dawkins described this was it was the head and 4/4 of a horse incised on a smooth and rounded fragment of rib. Nice. Love it. And that's actually, it's quite stylistic. It's quite good, right? And we'll look at that one there. There's another one there. And what there's loads of other stuff on it as well. Loads of other little bits of lines. There we go. That's not as good as the other one, is it? Don't show as much detail. Let's just go back to it. There we go. Hang on, we don't want to do that one because it's got. Yeah, actually, we do because yeah. So we've got the muzzle and everything there. So it's been cut short, off at one end and broken at the other. So it's been quite smooth on that end, and there may have been more of it, right? But unfortunately, the excavations were being undertaken at a time when we really didn't have the science to be doing the excavations. On the flat side, the head is represented with the nostrils and mouth and neck carefully drawn. Love it. Nice. And actually, if we go on to the actual hang on, bing, ding, ding, ding. This is actually quite. Go away. I actually like this image. This is actually better than the sketches. I love it. And then basically there's lots of oblique lines on it, as you can see, as there is on the other side, but the oblique lines are more formed on this. And show the animal was hog-maned. That's hog-maned there. Now, we had a little bit of a debate about this, and I actually said, look, I don't know everything, right? What is hog-maned? And then one of the group on a Tuesday night, right? He said, that's hog-maned at the top. What hog-maned is, it means that the mane of the horse has been cut, right? But if this carving's from about 12, 13,000 years ago, the horse was not domesticated then. But to hog-mane a horse, you need to have domesticated it to have done that. Or is it talking about a species of horse a similar relative like a donkey that's had its hair cut, right? Now, this is not in my notes, right? But if this is hog-mane, this means that the horse was domesticated thousands of years before we know it. And that, but you know what, right? I don't know if you spotted this, Henry and Goff, right? But there's a direct link. You know, when we were looking at those rock crystals, I knew it was there. I couldn't remember what it was. You know, when we were looking at the rock crystal flints and, with the rock crystal dagger And they said, oh, look, it's from an elite person because it's the only one that's ever been found, right? Well, before that, 10 years ago, nobody knew it existed, right? Up until 1876, nobody knew this existed, right? Now, this is one example of maybe tens of thousands of these things carved at the time, right, by different people. But it's the only one left. So the point I want to make now quickly is, because this is the only one that we've got, are we going to call it ceremonial, ritual? Are we going to say it belongs to a very important person? Or are we going to say, after I've done this lecture for 2.5 hours, which I can't do now, on Tuesday, one of them said, actually, what about it doesn't mean anything and somebody just carved it on a bit of bone and you're overemphasizing the point like every other archaeologist has done? And I said, no, I'm not overemphasizing the point. I'm trying to explore what this means, right? But she said, it might not mean anything. And I said, bingo, you've been coming to my classes too long. And that's exactly what I would say as well. And the other point as well is linking to the rock crystal is that maybe that is the issue, that there were thousands of these done at one point, and this is the only one that's left. But it doesn't necessarily mean to have any significance other than the fact that somebody knew of a horse and decided to carve it. That is the significance, boys. The horse existed within the mind's eye of the person creating this. However, that's where we come up with a problem. I knew we would come up to it eventually. They stop at the hog mane stops. There we go. The hog mane stops. The hog mane stops at the bend of the back, which means that this was clearly drawn properly. Right, and if you want to look at the forward hinds, there we go. You can see that the leg there. You can see the muscle is drawn quite well. That is actually quite anatomically correct, right? And you've got the other appendage coming there on the left. That little black line there. So if you had the rest of this would look really, this is so expressionate. And I'm actually seeing something else on that bone. Can you see it? You can see that it almost looks, this may have been an earlier sketch where you've got an arm coming in there and the arm's bent around and it's tucked in there, right? That may sound nuts, but if this person is drawing a human figure on there as well, they know their pepper, they know where their pepper comes from. They know their thing. But again, we do have a problem. We do have a problem with this. One thing that we're going to say, it's genuine. It's been dated, right? That's fact one, right? Now, after this was discovered, after its discovery and into the 1920s, some people have said this was fraudulent. This is at the same time that people believe that the Piltdown Man forgery was real. And this is the same time that everyone still believes, other than myself and 2 or 3 other people and a cat, that the Pavlan cave is actually fraudulently put together, right? They said that this is actually fake. The actual item is fake, not where it comes from. Oh, damn it, I've just given it away. Not where it comes from, that the item is in fact a fake, right? And probably because people have gone off on it. People have gone off looking at this in a completely different avenue, right? And people have said that this actually represents that somebody did this to represent the constellations, and we'll come back at that. Guys, I can't take a break at this minute because I'm in full flow. So it's said that although accepted now by most as authentic, some still today suggest that the piece is a genuine Paleolithic work. Wait for it. That originates in France. Now, this is rather interesting. The archaeologist, Professor Sir William Boyd Dawkins, didn't find this on his excavation. It was found by Reverend Milo from France, right? Milo. He discovers it, right? Now, could Milo have brought this over from France with him from another project, right? And therefore, this has been fraudulently found and left in Robin Hood Cave. Let's blame it. Let's just think about this being rather interesting. This sounds like Pavlan Cave, doesn't it? Where the archaeology has been mucked around and has been distorted and bent and twisted. And I'm going to give it away. When we do look at the caves at the Gower, we're going to look at Longhole Cave, which has got the same dating evidence at Pavlan Cave, where I do believe the evidence from Pavlan Cave actually came from. So it means that you can have a little bit more of a look. Now, whether or not this is originally from the cave or has been brought in from France, this itself is a major find. A major find. And due that nothing else has been found like this in the cave, this may indeed indicate it comes from France. Why are people... But what we've got to do, we've got to think about the meaning. And the meaning is that if this does come from France, or it does come from Creswell Crags, there were times when this was deposited in the ground 12, 13,000 years ago. There must have been microclimates. And those microclimates, because you wouldn't have had these horses running around in minus 10, 20 degrees C, right? They would have herded back into Europe. So those are really good points. There's also thought that they're saber-toothed tigers that have also been found at the same time in Robin Hood's cave may have actually been planted as well. However, using modern scientific evidence and looking at the original location of the original saber-toothed tiger, I said tooth, single tooth, and no other tooth has been found in there. But however, the evidence tells us that that tooth did actually come from the cave, because they've looked at other examples in France, and that tooth, by looking at the layers that it was actually found there. Now, this is rather interesting. When one carving has been found, more carvings are found. That was my problem with when we looked at the Pavlan Cave. It's almost as if loads of Paleolithic stuff is being found in the Gower after Reverend Buckland makes his find, and it seems to be absolutely everywhere, right? There seems to be an orgasmic rape of the archaeology there, and it's moved around and so on. But what we do find is that there are 3 other engravings on bones have been found. However, they believe that these are not genuine, and if they are, the carvings on the bones may have actually were actually the results of root damage on bones. Now, I've seen this, boys and girls. I found bones in the ground, and there's little lines on them, right? And you're thinking, nice. But the surface of the bone degrades, and what happens is the roots go into the outer surface, the endoskeleton or whatever, the exterior of the bone, and it basically, the roots get into the bone, and then that creates lines on it. The lines are actually from the roots themselves. The difference is with this itself, it's clearly that that can't be done by plant roots. But the others are likely, the other 3 that have been found, they reckon that they might be. And basically the lines in there are just basically the plant roots, which have now no longer with us. There are no real reasons to doubt the origins of the archaeological evidence at Robin Hood's cave. We're hoping that this does come from the Robin Hood's cave. However, after the break, we look at Pinhole Cave. Pinhole Cave Man, where this is to be found to be another artifact that is portable, movable, and there's no doubt about the man carved into this bone, a Pinhole Cave that we'll actually have a little look at. And this was found in the 1920s. Cave art has also been found. We'll have a little look at the cave art as well. It dates to, all this stuff dates to around the same time as well, which is rather interesting. So it might tell us that, is the ochre horse from these caves? Or we'll just leave that one, but it's a rather interesting debate. Now, this is one last thing. Now, the horse inscriptions seem to be very, very popular in regards to sites that have been found in France, and therefore, horse being typical of inscriptions in France, could it have been why it's been inscribed on a bone that's been found in Creswell Crags? It could also be that the person who inscribed in the bone may have actually brought the bone all the way from France anyway and deposited in a cave. Therefore, it's all really interesting stuff, really interesting conjecture, but the cave art can't have been brought from France. It's been carved in situ, found in 2003. We'll look at that after the break as well. And when you do something like this and you wear yourself out, I've done it, and it feels like my blooming long COVID's come back today. But that's life. So there we go. Oh, we don't want to do that. And one thing people had, I just want to discuss this quickly. People have looked at this and said, actually, if you look at the bone, there's all little holes on it, which may indicate stars and so on, and solar systems and so on and so on, and you think, well, actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the devil's advocate. And what I'm going to say is this: what's stopping somebody in the past doing this anyway? So we're saying that the other holes on the bone are actually genuine. And they thought, oh, right, yeah, I'll carve something else on there. They put the horse's head on it. Some say that the horse's head comes first and then the little dots on it. Actually, let's talk about this sensibly. Let's say, well, maybe somebody did, but they did it because they wanted to. They did it because they were bored one night and they sat there and they thought, right, okay, what we're going to do, right? Shut up, children! I got to do this, right? So they get this and they go, Dad, I drew that horse on there. Yeah, shut up. Right, okay, yeah. Hang on, I got to do this before all the stars move. And then the next day they leave it in the back of the cave and they never see it again. Do you know what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is there's nothing remotely special of these people drawing the stars, because they saw the same stars that we do. Well, one or two missing now, but they saw the stars the same that we do, and they had the same fascination. I'm going to talk for you, Henry, and Goff, and myself. We all had telescopes when we were a child. Did we ever use them and look at the stars? Well, I did briefly, and I got very cold, and I really didn't do it much. But then again, I have not become an astronomer. I did it because I was given a telescope. These people have their naked eyes, and they could see better than us because they didn't have all the crap in the air today that we have today. They could see the surface of the moon better than we can today with their naked eyes. On that note, and there's so much to see as well, and they're basically on this bone as well. They've talked about that somebody may have actually carved the design of a fish on it. So this is an interesting one, right? Somebody said, well, what they did, they carved the design of a fish on it, and there's the design of a fish. Can't really see it on there. There we go. You could just about see. Actually, that looks like a dolphin, doesn't it? Right. So if we go with that there, yeah, we think, right, the fish has been drawn on it. But then somebody said, actually, the little dots indicates stars and solar systems. So it depends on which one you talk to. But I'm just going to say that maybe, and somebody said there's the bird's head on there as well. Well, I tell you what, if somebody's got a birthmark on their backside and it looks like the shape of a bird, well, the thing is, if you've got 1,000 people with birthmarks on their backside and only one of them has got a shape of a bird on their birthmark, well, that's because it's natural. So, and actually they may have actually been drawing something else other than a bird's head or a fish. Anyway, I am pooped now. I need that, and I need to have a break, and I need to have some digestives as well. There's nothing. Do you know what? I hate this. It's just presuming too much. It is. And right, let's just go and say, right, after the break, we're going to do this. Let's say it's now 12:09. We'll probably go and let's do questions. I know you two boys are chaffing at the bit, so let's chaff at the bit. Henri, let's give it to me, babe.
No, I was just looking at the back side of that bone, and I just wonder if there's actually a face in it. I'll leave that for you to have a look at. No, we're not going to do that. No, because Goff's going to be wondering as well. That's really cruel. No, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to look at, we're going to grab it on you. If we type in, see if I can get the ochre horse, as it's called. The ochre horse. Red ochre horse. Do you know what? I've not really seen. I've not really seen the backside. I don't often look at people's backsides, you know. You'll be relieved to hear. Right, now go for it. There, on the right-hand side.
So that you got the dark mark there in the middle. Where are we from there? What is the dark mark?
If you come down, you got two eyes, you got a mouth and a nose.
Oh my God, it looks disgusting. I can see it. It looks downright evil.
Looks like
you. Actually, I can see it now. I can see it, but like my big nose. I'm gonna say it. In art, now this is gonna shoot myself in the foot. Mostly at this time, they did not create figures of human beings in carvings, but the next bit we do. So, you know, there's no reason why that can't be. And actually, do you know what? There's a lot going on that, isn't there? Lots of lines and stuff that have been created. You never know. Right, okay. I like that bit. And right, Henry, anything else you want to say, darling?
No, that's it. Thank you.
In the chat box, you have a face there. Yeah, cheers. And what about you, Goff?
Well, it's hard to say without actually holding it, seeing it, you know, physically. But I presume it's a one-off, isn't it? There aren't any more like this. So...
Yeah, there probably were in the past. There were probably thousands of these dotted around, but unfortunately, this is the only one that we know of so far. And it's just that the one point to be made is back to what we said about the rock crystal. I can't stress that anymore. We've got one place that we've got one rock crystal dagger, and then there's hundreds of these bloody arrowheads, and you're thinking, well, it can't have been that rare. We've got loads of them, and you know, it's all about modicum, right? We got one story of Robin Hood from the 1400s, Robert of the Hood, you know, and Maid Marian and all the rest of it. Whether any of that's real. But you might think that there may have been loads of Robin Hoods. It's just that was the only story that was written down. It's the same as Jesus Christ, isn't it? When somebody said, "He is the real Messiah," and they says, "You are the Messiah," and he says, "I'm not the Messiah," and he says, "Oh, only the true Messiah." Denies his divinity, and then he says, "I am the Messiah," and then they say, "Yeah, I told you he is the Messiah." The point is that Jesus Christ was the Messiah that everyone wrote about, right? But there were other messiahs at the time. There were other prophets at the time, and obviously when we look at Muhammad in the 620s, there's another prophet, there's another Messiah, right? It's just that what I'm trying to say is that we only write down some of the stuff in history, and it'll turn out that there are loads of these. There's loads of these things out there. They just haven't been found, and they may never be found because they've been destroyed. And remember, Goff, the other thing as well is this was a very long time ago. The ice will have done its damage and destroyed these artifacts anyway.
Yeah.
And somebody wrote on YouTube, they've written, would it be feasible to undertake a strontium analysis of the bone to determine its actual origin? To actually work out that's a very interesting one. Strontium analysis only works with teeth. However, the uranium and other signatures that are in rocks from other areas, uranium dating, uranium provenance, which is very similar to strontium, that would be able to be detectable in the bone. And yes, that is very, very right. Those types of analysis could be used on the bone. And that should be used. Thank you very much for that person online. So what we're going to do, 10-minute break. I need a cup of tea and I need to see why I can hear bombs going off in the background.
All right.
Maybe this is going to be the invasion spot and I need to fly my Russian flag now.
Yeah, get it out.
I got to get my Russian flag out now. It won't be a long 10-minute break. Get it out. That sounded really thingy, didn't it? Get it out, get it out, get it out on the bridges of time. Get it out. You know, I don't think I'm going to give up my day job. I didn't even think I had one. Anyway, I just got to double check something. I'm not screen sharing, but I hope not. Yeah, I'm gonna have a quick drink. Biscuits. I'm gonna check on everyone. He's got a nice jumper on. I gotta be honest with you. So anyone who's watching online, we just got a little bit of a break, so don't go away. It's good to have feedback. John Chill's suggestion was good. Yeah, that's true. To work out its origin. Animals have the same signatures as human beings, actually. Yes, they did have a plan B. Let's double check on the animals. Tea. I need my tea. Can't do life without tea. La 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 la. It's got to be. I think it was Ringo Starr. Yeah, it's got to be Ringo Starr. kettle's just boiled. That's all I'll tell you. Maybe in the interlude we could have like some entertainment. People who are online and all that. So I'm just going to pour my tea and I'm going to get started. Do you know, it's a bit nippy out there, isn't it? Woo! Hey, Jude. I'm going to do Barry thing and you have to do it. Hey, Jude, why are you sad? Take a sad song, make it happen. Tiki, come on, Tiki. Come on, Tiki. There you go, Tiki. It's good for you, Tiki. Thank you, Tiki. No, love you, Paul. Tiki. No. It's Baldrick and his bananas. Baldrick, we love you so. Baldrick, I love you so. You love your bananas. I love you, banana. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh God, isn't it great to be alive? It's great, child of the world, to you I love you. Oh, hark now the drums beat up again, for all true soldier, gentlemen. Mm. 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 Boys and girls, actually one can conduct. Yeah, I can. Thing is, right, it's just a bit. Hang on. Right. Are we back, boys? Well, I got you know, dating of the bone would be actually not dating the analysis of the bone. There is traces of strontium in the rest of the bone. I do admit, but strontium analysis is better placed when you use it on teeth. But yeah, you are right. You are right. Strontium can be used on other bones in the body. It's not as prevalent. But yeah, you could work out where the bone actually came from in that case, I think. So right. Cup of tea, we're ready. The big question, Goff, did you have any biscuits?
No, not allowed. I'm on a diet.
You're on a diet?
Yeah.
That's not that woman you're with, is it? She tells you what to do?
Yeah. I'm my doctor. I've lost a stone and 2 pounds.
How much?
A stone and 2 pounds in a month.
You've lost?
Yeah. Slimming world.
You haven't, have you?
Yeah. Honestly.
My God, are you the only bloke there? Because it's yeah.
Oh, well, there are not many blokes there, but there are a few of them. Well, out of 30 that go on a Wednesday morning to the Scout Hall in Cambridge, there's about 3 blokes. Yeah.
It's a great place to pick up women, then, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah, I tell you what, we're all there. Hey, maybe what we could do, right, is we could do the Thursday morning archaeology class to Slimmer's World.
Yeah, what the ladies do, because they're going to get weighed every Wednesday morning, they all come down, they take all their clothes off before they go on the scales. So I did see a woman in her bra and pants there once.
Oh God, we're there.
You'd love it.
No,
Right
I tell you what. Can you imagine seeing Kathy in a bra and
well, that's unfortunately that's the sort of yeah. It's not like 23-year-old dolly birds. It's more.
Hey, hang on a minute. You know, I might be into that type of thing, Goff. You're knocking it.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you a question about mosaics.
Yeah, go for it. Love it.
Were they purely decorational, or were they on the floors of living rooms, so people walking on them?
The problem is they're also there to give a message and a story as well.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Carry on.
No, I'm just wondering. You see these mosaics and you think, were they like parquet flooring? Well, that's lovely. Oh, lovely, yeah. You know, or tiles in a bath.
Well, one thing that we do know is that there were lots of them in Roman Britain, right? There were lots of these mosaics across the Roman Empire. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, I've made out that mosaics were there for people who were exceedingly rich. But then again, there were lots of them, and you start to think, well, you know, is that completely the case? And then you look at the reason for what a Roman mosaic meant, and you start to think, well, a Roman mosaic may have been there for decoration. It may have been there to put across a message. It may have just been there for vanity. It may have been there for interest. But you know, how many reasons do you need to have a Persian rug? You know.
Well, that's a bit like a Persian rug. Is it like a Persian rug where it's put down? You never walk on it. You're not allowed to walk on it. It's our Persian rug. It's for show. Is a mosaic like that, or is it like an ordinary carpet that's very pretty?
Yeah, there's lots of reasons, and there's one thing they're meant to be seen. So when you see lots of reconstructions, what they always do is they have all the furniture on top of it, and I'm thinking, well,
right. yeah.
And then you start to think, Goff, there's one reason that if you do you know what we're going to do? We're going to quickly look at this a minute, right? We're just going to quickly look at this issue, right? Because I need something. I need a little voice in my head to tell me whether I'm right or not, right? So if we go back to mosaic, hang on, London, Rome. There's a point to be made here, and I've just suddenly spotted it. Right, okay. I've just suddenly spotted this, and I want the reconstruction. I need it. I need this. Right, okay. Are you still there, Goff?
Yeah.
This might answer your question, actually, what I'm just about to say. Right. Let's just do it. Right. All right. Let's show you this reconstruction on you, right? And we're going to show a few different reconstructions, and the point will be made. Let's screen share, and let's look at this. Let's go. Right. Okay. If we look at say that reconstruction there, right? Now,
Yeah.
Right. The one point to be made is that with usual reconstruction, they show iron and brass bedsteads, right? They would damage the mosaic.
Yes, yes.
Right. And in all the years I've been looking at mosaics, right, I have never seen anyone talk about damage being caused to a mosaic by the furniture in it. Okay, let's just have a look. Let's try and have another little look. That one there is the reconstruction of the one that they found in London, apparently. Yeah?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, all of that's going to damage the floor.
It is. It is.
And also the other thing as well is what we usually see. I can't. If I had more time, we could have done it, right? But what we usually see, you can see that furniture there. This is chunky stuff. Now, what I have seen on reconstructions of these is like a little metal basket on a metal frame, right? And they would put little logs in there and stuff in the middle of the room, apparently, right? And you're thinking, well, that's going to really cause damage to the floor, and nobody ever discusses this. And look at that.
If you paid a stack of money to get some bloke to lay your mosaic floor for you, you wouldn't want loads of stuff on it, would you? You want to show it off.
You're not going to cover it up, exactly.
Yeah. That reconstruction, that's what I thought. It looked a bit odd to me.
Yeah, it looks a bit odd. And you know, you are right about the Persian rug, right? I'm not allowed to step on the Persian rug in my parents' house. If you look at this is a nice reconstruction. This is a bit over exaggerated, actually. But this is so basically you've got several layers usually, not like you've got 5 layers there. So you've got the tessera on the top. You've got this this nice bit of plaster underneath that you set it in, right? Or a low grade cement, and then you've got these concrete bends. Now, what's going to take the pounding is the mosaic. And I'm sorry, all these people talking about, you know, mosaics having furniture on, it's wrong. That's what I'm going to go with. Right. So what we're going to do, going to go. Yeah, I'm thinking about this, and we don't see it. Right. Okay. Let's get back to Creswell Crags. We've got somebody online. They're looking online, and they're going down the strontium argument, and I like somebody who says I'm wrong, right? They're basically saying, look, Carl, you know, we've used teeth to understand where people have lived in regards to their strontium, right? And I basically said, look, that the biggest buildup of strontium in the body is in the teeth. But this other person is actually right in what they're saying, is that we're able to trace more and more in bones, more strontium and other types of strontium, which can give us a good idea where people have come from and where they've developed, i.e. there's signatures of lots of different strontium in their bone, and they're very right, actually. So, yeah, it would be good to understand where these bones actually come from. And the other thing as well is there's this idea of assumption. We can't use it with Pavlan Cave because I'm saying that the evidence from Pavlan Cave only basically comes from down the road, right? It's been re-mitigated there. But did this bone here, the one that we're going to look at now from Pinhole Cave, which we're going to show you where Pinhole Cave is. And there's Pinhole Cave. There's the location of Pinhole Cave. There we go. And if we go back with this, we can think, right, what there is a carving at the bottom of this bone, right? And so that's where we're going to go. So I'm just going to get my carvings up on here, and we're going to look at, 1 second, I've got to get my notes up. Right, okay, so we're going to look at this carving from Pinhole Cave, and we've got that, and okay, so if we zoom in and we look at what we're looking at, that's what we're looking at the bottom of the bone, right? And we had a good discussion about this on Tuesday, and people come up with everything other than a man on it. So the Pinhole Cave Art, this is portable art, engraving of a human figure on a woolly rhinoceros rib bone, dating to the Upper Paleolithic, that is now in the British Museum. In the 1920s, a woolly rhinoceros rib that was broken at both ends was found in Pinhole Cave, Creswell Crags. This was found in the 1920s. This was found in the 1920s when people were actually umming and ahhing about the other piece of portable art that had been found, the one we just actually looked at, the ochre horse. The bone itself has been dated to around 12,000 years ago. Where it came from is, again, did it actually come from that locality? And the other thing as well is, you're going down a little rabbit warren. It's a rib bone from a woolly rhinoceros, right? Now, if archaeologists thinking, oh right, okay, that's proof that woolly rhinoceros lived in this valley. But if the bone had come in from France, then that means that woolly rhinoceroses and woolly, I've got my tongue tied there. It's a woolly rhinoceros rib. The rib bone itself, if it comes from somewhere else, is indicative of woolly rhinoceroses being from that area, not this area. So the immediate presumption that woolly rhinoceroses roam this landscape must be tested and challenged by working out where the bone originated. That's the point. I got to it eventually. I got really tongue-tied on that one. So we know it dates from about 12,000 years ago. And it's basically both ends of the bone have been broken off. And there may have been other things carved on it, incised on it. The figure itself is 5 centimeters tall. So it's a little ditty figure, 5 centimeters tall. And it faces to the right, whatever that means. The whole bone itself is just under 21 centimeters in length. So quite a little bit under the length of a normal school ruler, which is 30 centimeters in length. It is clearly a man that has a huge penis. Unfortunately, I'm looking at that thinking he's actually got two penises, because if you look down, he's got another penis coming off his leg. Now, in my notes, it says that there may have actually been one figure carved on here, which was further down with a penis. And then what they did, they carved the figure further up with another penis. And it's said that if you can interpret this as a man, that in fact, the person is actually wearing a mask. And, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, that does not look like the head of anyone. That does not look like the head of anyone wearing a mask. And do you know what? It looks like something that you might find on the Mappa Mundi. I don't know if anyone's ever looked at the Mappa Mundi, but when you actually look, you look at the Mappa Mundi and there's all these weird figures like that on it from Africa. Yeah. This is what this reminds me of, but this is 12,000 years ago. I'm actually thinking that the person who drew this didn't know what they were drawing. And they were doing it from memory. And were they actually drawing a person? I'm not really sure that they were, because the body doesn't look really lifelike. And drawing figures and drawing people was not the type of thing that our ancestors did about 12,000 years ago. They were brilliant at drawing bison, and they were brilliant at drawing buffalo and all these wonderful things, but not so much human figures. We don't get lots of human figures from 12,000 years ago. And it's saying that there is an arm outstretched. Well, I got to be honest with you, if those are legs, right? He was able to draw legs. So why is the arm so feeble? And it's basically, it says that he may be wearing a mask that has a protruding nose and a jaw. Again, I'm really struggling with trying to see that. He has legs. Actually, it's saying that he has legs that seem really incomplete, and he has a crooked back. Well, he's obviously fat, and the surface of the bone is scratched all over. On the reverse side of the bone, there are two parallel engraved lines, as we see with the other example with the ochre horse. So these are actually carved in two completely different bones. Now, this is only one of two items of portable art found within the context of Creswell crags. And it is similar to other pictures of male humans known from France at this period that are quite crude and are quite cartoon-like with masked heads. And again, it hasn't gone into that lengthy discussion of whether this comes from France. But if this is similar to figures carved in France 12,000 years ago, interesting. This is very, very crude in regards to the ochre horse, made by a completely different artist in a completely different cave or a completely different time, hundreds, if not 1,000 years apart. Now, there's not much realism in this, and this itself is a very important figure. And it reminds me, maybe, if it is a mask figure, if I can entertain that, which is going to be a bit of a struggle for my mind to entertain. But this figure sort of goes down the avenue of the reconstructions that we actually see from Star Car, where there were face masks made out of deer heads with antlers on them, which we'll go on to in the future. Now, somebody made a little bit of a reconstruction about this on another bone, and you're thinking, well, I'm sorry, that absolutely looks nothing like that. But that's the original bone. That's the original thing. Now, the big question is, when does this date to? Now, that is the big question. And the one thing that we can say is that when they were analyzing the surface of this bone, there was a very, very thin layer of build-up on it. It's described a film of calcium carbonate, a stalagmite film on it, that basically is a film that would develop over a long period of time. So if I can get the image back up a minute, what I'm talking about is this: you've got stalagmites and stalactites. It's mineral deposits in caves. And those mineral deposits in caves are so fine and so minutiae that they form over a long period of time, and they get thicker and thicker, but they get thicker and thicker over thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. And you can think that there are layers which are on this surface. By looking at an electron microscope, you can actually see all these little layers. And when you get to the lowest layer on the surface, you can actually find some. You can actually find traces of uranium. You can find traces of calcium carbonate. You find all different traces of various metals and minerals and so on the surface. And then that puts you into the pool of dating techniques, being able to date this bone and the surface when this was actually carved into at least 12,000 years ago. So what we're going to do now, we're going to actually look at the cave art, and the last big thing that we were going to look at, Creswell crags. So if we go there, last look at our valley. And if we look again, and we're now going to look at the other massive, fascinating area, Creswell Crags. Without doubt, Creswell Crags is the place to look at this very old Paleolithic archaeology, going back, as I've said, 60,000 years ago. So where we're going to go next is Churchill Cave, is the cave system on the bottom, and I'm very aware it's 12:45, and I'm very aware that we can't go on forever today. So let's just have a think of Churchill Cave. Now, initially, it could be said that when cave art is actually found, you could say it's been faked. You could say that why hasn't anyone seen it before? And again, what we've got is calcium carbonate flowstone, which covers over some of the engravings, and that flowstone has sealed the surface. So basically, the way that the way the flowstone would work as follows: you've got the natural rock surface. Somebody has prepared the natural rock surface. In France, they prepare the natural rock surface with muds and clays, like at Lascaux, and they build the surface, and then they decorate it. Right, that's one point. Here, this is naked rock. This is naked stone, and what's simply happening is that they've prepared the surface, and then they've carved into the surface, and they've engraved into the surface, and in places what they have done is they've used the surface of the wall of the caves, the roof and the side, to actually create some of the figures that they want to create, which are actually known as bas reliefs. So let's try and get some of these images on here. This was great. These were actually found in 2003. Let's get to 2003. There's a few on here, and what we're going to do, we're just going to entertain you. So what we've got this on here. This is basically the original surface, and this is basically the surface of Creswell Crags. If you look at that, you can actually see lines and stuff on there, right? But that's no good for us today. What we need to do is we need to go back to that other image. We need to go back to this one, where it's got all these superimposed animals. In fact, we've got carvings on there that date back to 200 years ago, and we've got carvings on there that date back 12,000 years ago. And the way this all works is that I keep using the word carve, engrave, carve. You engrave into the stone and you create a line, just a line, like the little pink lines at the bottom. It might be a counter, it could indicate anything. You carve these little lines in there, and then basically you leave it. Now, over time, a fine layer of calcium carbonate drips down the wall of the cave, goes into the groove. Another 1,000 years goes by. Somebody decides to engrave something else in the cave. They already find this line, and they think, oh, I'll carve in section across this line. So they dig into the image, and they actually dig into the calcium carbonate flowstone, right, which is the patina on the surface. And then another 1,000 years goes by. There's another layer on top, and you can date these layers like dating, like looking at pages in a book. It's absolutely amazing and fascinating. And if we, these again found in 2003, and the other ones I'd like to show you, there's lots of these. We do believe that this is an ibis bird rather than a crane, or rather than a curlew. And what they've done, they've basically they felt the rock, right, and they felt the rock, and they've gone with the contours, and they've gone down here and they've gone down there, and they thought, well, we'll use that little bit that sticks out there as the beak, and we'll do a little bit of engraving, carving around the outside, a little bit of carving, and then what we'll do, we'll engrave the rest of the creature. We'll put the eye in there. That's what we're going to do. So these are very important. We did not believe that there was any cave art in Britain at all. We did not believe that cave art existed in Britain up until we didn't believe it existed. And now we found this in 2003, and now we found some on the Gower as well. And I do believe there's another location in Britain that's a bit suspicious that we've actually got cave art. We've got about at least 2, maybe 3 in Britain. And it was long argued by archaeologists that we must have had cave art in Britain because we've got everything else. We've got those little portable artifacts that we've just mentioned in Pinhole, and Robin Hood's cave with the horse and the human figure. And archaeologists went in there. Paul Barn, who's the guy who writes in archaeology with Colin Renfrew, Paul Barn, and he's well learned in Paul Barn, and we've got a guy called Paul Petit, who's actually a prehistoric expert, another chap called Sergio Ripon, and they decided to go into look at Creswell Crags. They said they're definitely going to be cave art in there. Lo and behold, they found it. They were looking and they found it. This ibex was this ibex is there, and we've got all these carvings on the ceiling and on the sides of the walls, and a great rarity. So even though we found the one on the Gower in 2008, that's older than this by about 500 years, 1,000 years. This itself, whether it dates, we do believe it dates from roughly about 12.5 to maybe 14,500 years ago. The stuff on the Gower is probably 4,500 years ago. These are the most northerly carvings anywhere in Europe, so it's great. The subject matter includes representations of animals. Let's go back to that there. Stag, for example. You've got horse designs there as well. Multifaceted. This is like having a canvas. Oh God, the Madonna. Yeah. On that, the canvas, they find layers and layers where the original artist painted, and I thought wasn't happy with that, painted over it, wasn't happy with that, painted over. Lots of artists do it, and this is what happened here. It might be that they may have put some kind of mud deposit on it to like cover up the earlier designs, and then they decided to incise, but it's only the incisions that actually survived. That might be indicative in the flowstone, I don't know. So we've got bisons, we've got elk as well. Maybe that's an example of an Irish elk that would be slowly becoming extinct within 1,000 or so years after this was actually created. And it's basically the engravers seem to have made use of natural uneven cave surfaces for this, and probably using natural light which shone at into the caves. Obviously the caves were much deeper then, and narrow mouths maybe, and they're using natural light and actually artificial light to actually illuminate the art. Why they did them we don't know. Probably beyond our mindset and consciousness. Maybe it's more shamanic and more sort of interpretive. Imagine going into a cave and actually see an image like this. It's just like so mystical. So mystical. You notice I'm not using words like ritual and ceremony. So mystical. So calcium carbonate flowstone is very important. And what there is in calcium carbonate, as I mentioned when we were talking about the example of Pinhole, was that there's uranium. There's uranium within this calcium carbonate, and uranium itself decays over a period of time. So when these minerals and sort of these are actually fixed in the calcium carbonate, it's fixed there and they start to decay. But by looking at the decay rate, you can understand when these layers date from. In other words, you've gone out to bought a Mars bar, right? You've eaten half of the Mars bar because it sat on your desk, and by the end of the day you've eaten all the Mars bar, and there is a passage in time, because eventually there is no more of the Mars bar left, because there's a sequence of progression there, and that's where we go. And you can see some more modern stuff. PM, whoever PM is, that looks very recent actually. Ooh, very recent. So what we've got is these all provide a minimum age for the underlying engraving, and the scientists and archaeologists concluded that it was most likely the engravings were contemporary with evidence that they could see within the landscape. So in other words, what we do see with these animals carved and engraved in the caves, these represent the fauna around them. So it's all contemporary, and this is all sort of within the date range of the ochre horse in a bone, and this is in the date range of the figure of a man that was found in Pinhole Cave. So all of this is really, really relevant. So what we do find is that on the south side, which is Nottinghamshire, that's where all the engravings have been found. In Derbyshire, we've obviously got the other evidence in regards to the caves. And I'm sorry about the noise, because we've got very snowy conditions. In fact, it's settling, and there's a white layer out the window, so I'm going to probably have to go soon. We'll give it 5 more minutes. Not all of the figures within these caves are identified as prehistoric art. There's some more modern things. And the other thing as well is we've got to be very careful of what naturally forming in these caves. And one last thing I would like to mention as well is that we've obviously got these other little figures carved into the rock here, and we've got these other things that are carved in as well. Now, I'm just going to tell you quickly about these, and then we're going to have to call it a day. So these are actually classed, these are actually not prehistoric, but this goes to show how, and it looks like we got a date there of 17, down in the bottom side there. Oh, looks like we've got a date there of 1730, doesn't it? So I'm just going to type in your which marks, Creswell, Crags. Then I'm going to have to go because we've got stormy conditions developing, and this is going to go your ways, guys. So I'm just gonna type in this. These are actually witch marks, and interestingly, these were found by absolute accident. Well, I'll tell you the story. I know these are modern, but they're part of the story. What it is, there was a tour guide going into the cave, and oh, hang on, I had it on my screen a minute ago. Hang on, it's mucking me around, this computer. We'll just go with that. I'm just going to go with an article. Right, here we go. This is it. Come on. Right, here we go. Come on, let's get this up on. I'll be a second, guys. Right, here we go. These were actually found by complete accident, totally by complete accident, and they were only found very recently. And these are so obvious, but you know, if these are so obvious, it's likely that much older stuff is yet to be found. And when these are known as apotropic marks, which are associated with witchcraft. In other words, warding off witchcraft. These chance discoveries were made by two keen-eyed enthusiasts who had been part of a tour guide group at Creswell Crags. And they looked at the ceiling and they said, hang on, there's marks up there. And they'd never been seen before. And these were actually, I think these were actually found in 2017. So they're really, really new. These witch marks were in plain sight, like the elephant in the room, all the time, being present at the moment their true significance was revealed. And these are massively important, really, really important. And you know, the guide itself had been working at Creswell Crags for 17 years. Seen these were found by complete accident. These wonderful witch marks. And just quickly saying, these ritualistic protection marks are most commonly found on church doors or in various houses from the 1700s. But we found loads of them here. And it was thought that the largest quantity of witch marks were to be found in Somerset, because they're very superstitious down there. But these witch marks, I think there's about 80 of them. There's loads of them, dating all the way back to probably the 1700s. Very, very unexpected. And the marks appear to have been added to over time and may indicate a need to strengthen a protection in response to a period of unexpected sickness, death, or poor crops. So in other words, they blame sort of witchcraft for all these things. And finally, Professor Ronald Hutton said about these, and you can see a date there, 1735 as well. This discovery is significant because it looks like the largest assemblage of protective marks ever found in British caves, and possibly anywhere in Britain. This is suddenly a large area of research for historians and archaeologists. This is hugely important. So in other words, what we do see, and he goes on to say, now it does so again within the caves, show a fresh medieval and early modern level of art. These symbols for ritualistic protection on a huge scale make it a very important contribution at a single stroke to one of the most significant current areas of newly scholarly research. So in other words, what we do find, and the other point to be made here, Creswell Crags is already of international importance for its ice age and ancient remains. To find this huge number of protective marks from the more recent past adds a whole new layer of discovery. Even 200 years ago, the English countryside was a very different place. death and disease were everyday companions, and evil forces could readily be imagined in the dark. We can let's only speculate on what it was the people of Creswell feared might emerge from the underworld into these caves. So I wanted to actually I was a bit panicky then. The bad weather has subsided, the wind's dropped, and the and the snow's melted again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if there's any messages which are on our which are from our YouTube thingamajig, and then we're going to come to you, boys, and see if there's anything else. And basically, oh, here we go. Note: a woolly rhino tooth was also found at Creswell Crags in 2019. So that directly links with the rib bone that we'd found at Pinhole Cave, which was actually from a woolly rhinoceros, and obviously a rib bone, a tooth, added all together. Didn't know about that, but thanks for Mr. Morgan online for adding that to me. So anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to call that a day. If there's any images you want me to stick up quickly, if you've got any questions, do it now, because I'll go off. No, okay, let's stop screen sharing. And are there any questions, Goff? And are there any questions from Henry? Goff and Henry, please.
No, I've got no questions. It's a very interesting subject I hadn't considered before. So thanks very much for that.
My absolute pleasure. And what about you, Henry? Anything you'd like to say?
I've got no questions. A very interesting lecture today. I think we've been a number of places.
Good, and hopefully you'll enjoy looking at Deborah's hole when we do it in a few weeks' time.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
On that note, if there's no other questions, I really look forward to seeing you next Thursday. So I'm going to have another cup of tea and a biscuit and a cake, I think. And I really, and basically it was mentioned that there's the 2019 as a date for the Witch Max. Okay, thank you. So it's it's a Miss Morgan. So they were found not in 2017 and 2019. So basically we're finding this new stuff at Creswell Crags now, and much more. If those marks were missed, those obvious marks, what else is there? What other stuff is in the depths of Creswell Crags? And no more jokes about Deborah's hole. Right. So anyway, so what we're going to do is the depths of despair. I really appreciate you joining me today, Goff, and Miss Morgan online, and obviously Henry as well, and anybody else. And thank you very much. See you next week.
Bye-bye for now.
Great. Take care, Goff, Henry. And you keep safe. Take care. Bye. Bye-bye. 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 Thank you. And thank you, Miss Morgan, for joining us online. If you've got anything else you want to add, if not, in a moment, we shall go. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you do want to join, which is only £1.99 a month if you press the join button, and I'm going to do this, then everything helps to keep this work going for Archaeology Company and my YouTube channel. So if there's no other contributions, we'll shut this down in a very, very short while. I've got to get out and do some stuff quickly. Oh, let's see if there's any other notes on here whilst I'm wrapping up. So any other notes? You have a face there. Oh, face on the back. Yeah, we mentioned that with the ochre horse, and looking at a seal as well. Okay, right, we're going to call it a day. Thank you very much. And that's on my chat here, and nothing else online. So we're closing this down. Goodbye. 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 And thanks. On next week at 10:30, and you're very welcome to join us. Don't forget to if you do want to join, it'd be very appreciated. Anyway, thank you very much, Miss Morgan, and your contribution has been undoubtedly valuable. I think it's a bit behind, actually. Yeah. Okay, I'm off.